Have you ever felt like someone is hiding something, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Or maybe you found yourself wondering what is really going on behind that person's words or actions? The truth is, people aren't always as transparent as we'd like them to be. But with the right tools, you can learn to understand their true thoughts, emotions, and intentions. Imagine you're at a party, chatting with someone you've just met. They're telling you about their exciting new job and all the great things that are happening. But as they speak, you notice a flicker of discomfort in their smile, almost like they're forcing it. They quickly change the subject when the conversation turns to their boss, and their hands are tightly clenched around their drink. It doesn't add up. Why would they act uneasy when talking about something they claim to be excited about? What are they really thinking? By paying attention to these small details, you start to realize that the mind often reveals its true thoughts through the things we try to hide. In this video, we'll share 6 simple ways to understand what others are really thinking using Stoic wisdom. From spotting emotional triggers to recognizing hidden clues, these techniques will help you connect with people on a deeper level. Let's get started. But before we begin, let me share a story to illustrate the wisdom behind this lesson. The story of Elijah, the silent reader. Elijah lived in a small village surrounded by misty mountains, where life was simple, but human behavior was anything but. Elijah had always struggled to connect with people. They often smiled when they were upset, spoke kindly yet betrayed, or remained silent when they needed help the most. "Why are people so hard to understand?" he would mutter to himself. One rainy evening, as Elijah sat on his porch brooding over yet another misunderstanding with his closest friend, he spotted an old man trudging through the storm. The man carried a worn satchel and walked with a peculiar calmness, as though the rain did not bother him. Elijah, out of courtesy, invited him inside. The old man smiled. "You seem troubled, young one. What burdens your mind?" "People," Elijah replied sharply. "They never say what they mean, and I'm always left guessing." The man chuckled softly and opened his satchel, pulling out a tattered book. Its cover was faded, and the title, "The Language of Silence," was barely legible. "This book," the old man said, "teaches you how to understand people without them speaking a single word. But beware, Elijah, it is not for the faint-hearted." Elijah's curiosity was piqued. "I'll take it," he said eagerly, ignoring the man's warning. That night, Elijah opened the book. It was filled with cryptic instructions. "Watch the way they blink. It speaks of their hesitations. Notice the tension in their hands. It reveals their fears." Each line was both a riddle and a revelation. For the next few days, Elijah practiced the techniques. He noticed his mother's forced smile as she served dinner, realizing she was tired but didn't want to complain. He saw his neighbor's trembling hands, understanding that he was hiding a secret. Slowly, Elijah began to piece together the unsaid emotions around him, but the more he understood, the lonelier he felt. People didn't realize how much they were revealing, and Elijah didn't know how to carry the weight of their silent confessions. One evening, Elijah's closest friend Daniel came to visit. Daniel had always been cheerful and carefree, but this time Elijah noticed something different. Daniel laughed too loudly, avoided eye contact, and fiddled nervously with a thread on his sleeve. The signs screamed distress. "What's wrong, Daniel?" Elijah asked, his voice trembling. "Nothing," Daniel replied with a grin, but Elijah could see through it. Desperate to help, Elijah decided to use the book's final chapter titled The Whispering Silence. The instructions were vague. To truly understand someone's mind, you must risk losing your own clarity. Ignoring the ominous tone, Elijah followed the steps, which involved meditative focus on Daniel's every move, word, and silence. As Elijah concentrated, his surroundings seemed to blur, and a chilling whisper filled his ears. "You can know everything, but at what cost?" Suddenly, an overwhelming flood of emotions hit him: pain, fear, guilt, despair. It was as if he had stepped into Daniel's mind. Elijah gasped, his heart pounding. "Daniel," he whispered, "you're planning to leave the village forever, aren't you?" Daniel froze, his face pale. How do you know that?" Elijah couldn't explain, but the truth was undeniable. "You feel like you don't belong here anymore, like you've failed, but running won't fix what's inside." Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. "I've been hiding this for months. I thought no one cared." Elijah reached out, his own heart heavy. "You don't have to hide, Daniel. I see you, even when you think no one does." Daniel stayed, but the experience left Elijah shaken. When he tried to revisit the book that night, it had vanished, along with any memory of the old man. The next morning, Elijah found a note on his porch. "You've learned the language, but remember, understanding others means carrying their storms. Be gentle, always." And from that day, Elijah used his gift sparingly, knowing that true connection came not from reading minds, but from showing empathy. To read people's minds, we don't need supernatural powers. We need the courage to pay attention, the patience to listen, and the empathy to connect. The world's deepest secrets are often hidden in plain sight. Before we begin with the first lesson, if you find these videos helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on the latest content. Let's begin. Number 1. Decode their emotional triggers. Have you ever noticed how a person's emotions are like ripples on the surface of a lake, revealing what lies beneath? When someone's face lights up, their eyes dart away, or their voice trembles, it's not just a reaction, it's a glimpse into the heart of what they hold dear. Stoic philosophy teaches us to observe these ripples without judgment, understanding others not to manipulate them, but to build bridges of empathy and connection. Decoding emotional triggers starts with becoming a detective of subtle clues. Think of it as walking through a forest, where every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig hints at unseen movements. When someone speaks, their body language tells a story. Notice the spark in their eyes when discussing something they're passionate about. It's like watching a fire ignite in the darkness. Conversely, frustration or anger might appear as storm clouds gathering before a downpour, signaling an inner boundary crossed or a hidden fear exposed. Consider excitement as an emotional magnet. It pulls energy, enthusiasm, and even vulnerability to the surface. Picture a colleague whose words speed up and hands gesture wildly during a meeting. It's as if they've uncovered a hidden treasure map, and their reaction reveals their deepest motivations: creativity, recognition, or purpose. On the other hand, anger is like a volcano, pressure building quietly until it erupts. If someone grows defensive in a conversation, think about the magma beneath the surface. What belief, insecurity, or wound fuels this fiery response? Sadness, too, is a revealing guide. Imagine it as rain falling on parched soil. It nourishes and exposes the roots of what matters most. When a friend shares their sorrow about a missed opportunity or a broken connection, they're opening a window to their priorities: loyalty, connection, or personal growth. Observing this with a Stoic mindset means not reacting, but reflecting, allowing you to support them in a way that feels meaningful. To truly decode these emotional signals, practice the art of listening. Think of it as tuning a radio to the right frequency. You must block out static distractions and focus entirely on the speaker. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how they say it. A pause in their sentence could be the crack where the light of truth peeks through. Ask open-ended questions, like a miner digging for gold. Why does this matter to you? Or what does that make you feel? Their answers are the keys to unlocking their inner world. Remember, reading someone's emotional triggers isn't about controlling them. It's about discovering their melody. Stoic philosophy reminds us that by understanding others, we also understand ourselves. Emotions, like rivers, flow from shared human experiences, connecting us all. So the next time you want to decode someone's thoughts, look for their emotional landmarks, their joys, frustrations, and sadness, and use empathy as your compass to navigate their world. And always keep in mind, the ripples on the lake don't just show you the surface, they hint at the depths below. Number 2, look for repeated patterns. Have you ever noticed how people tend to act the same way over and over, even when the circumstances change? Our habits, reactions, and choices often form patterns that reveal more about us than any single action ever could. Stoic philosophy teaches us that by observing these repeated behaviors, we can gain a clear, logical understanding of someone's true nature. People don't change overnight, and the things they do consistently offer the clearest insight into what they value, fear, or prioritize. Patterns are like threads woven into the fabric of someone's character. When you see the same behavior show up time and again, it's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of who they are at their core. For example, a colleague who always takes the credit for team efforts may reveal a pattern of self-interest and a need for validation. Or a friend who constantly avoids responsibility for their actions might be demonstrating a deeper fear of failure or rejection. These repeated behaviors tell you more than what someone says. They give you a roadmap of their character. Think about how patterns are often the result of deeply ingrained beliefs. A person who always goes above and beyond for others might have a pattern of seeking approval or fearing rejection. On the flip side, someone who constantly avoids confrontation may be driven by a desire for peace at any cost, even if it means sacrificing their own needs. Repeated patterns are clues to what's driving a person beneath the surface, whether it's a need for control, love, acceptance, or recognition. Epictetus believed that to understand others, we must pay attention to the consistent choices they make. If someone is always late to meetings, that pattern isn't just about poor time management. It could be a sign of a lack of respect for others' time or even an internal struggle with procrastination. It's these repeated behaviors that reveal the hidden forces at work. Patterns allow you to see beyond the surface level and understand why people act the way they do. The power of patterns lies in their predictability. Once you recognize them, you can anticipate how someone might respond in a given situation. For example, someone who consistently withdraws when faced with stress will likely do the same in future challenges. Likewise, someone who consistently seeks out opportunities to help others will likely continue to do so. These patterns form a predictable map of behavior that helps you understand their motivations. Look for patterns in the way someone handles different situations. Do they retreat in the face of adversity, or do they rise to the occasion? Do they act with consistency and integrity, or do they falter when things get tough? Repeated patterns don't lie. They reveal a person's true character, what they value, and what drives them. In Stoic thought, self-awareness and understanding others come from observing not just isolated actions, but the ongoing patterns that define their responses to life. By noticing these patterns, you begin to see the deeper currents at play in someone's behavior, and with that understanding comes the ability to connect more meaningfully. So, the next time you want to understand someone better, don't focus on their individual actions. Look for the repeated patterns. They will provide you with a clear, logical path to understanding their true nature. If you've enjoyed the video so far, please make sure to like it. It'll take you less than 2 seconds and it'll put a big smile on my face. Number 3, read between their words. Sometimes it's not what people say, but how they say it, or what they leave out entirely, that speaks the loudest. Words often act as shields, carefully chosen to protect deeper thoughts or emotions. Yet if you listen closely, subtle contradictions, hesitations, or changes in tone can reveal what's truly going on beneath the surface. People's words can be like a polished surface, smooth and composed, but cracks often appear when emotions slip through. For instance, someone might insist, "I'm fine," while their voice wavers or their hands fidget. These small signals, hidden in plain sight, reveal the gap between what they're saying and what they're feeling. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, believed that truth isn't just found in speech, but in the pauses and inflections that accompany it. Think of these contradictions as windows to their inner world. A friend might talk about their exciting new job, but if they avoid eye contact or sigh while describing it, they may be feeling overwhelmed or uncertain. Their words say one thing, but the subtext, the unsaid, tells another story. To truly understand someone, you need to pay attention to these unspoken truths. Even small pauses or slips can carry meaning. Imagine a colleague confidently presenting an idea but stumbling when questioned about the details. It might not just be nerves. They could be masking insecurity or uncertainty. Reading between their words is about observing these subtle changes, much like noticing ripples on the surface of a still pond when something stirs beneath. To master this skill, practice active listening. Pay attention to tone, rhythm, and emphasis. Do they rush through certain topics? Do their words lack the conviction their expressions suggest? These small cues provide insight into their real thoughts and feelings. Seneca once observed that people's struggles often lie in the things they avoid saying. By focusing on what's left unsaid, the hesitations, contradictions, and shifts in tone, you can uncover the fears or desires they may not even be aware of themselves. Understanding others isn't about prying or pushing. It's about observing with empathy, creating a space where they feel safe to be authentic. When you learn to read between the lines, you'll find a deeper connection with the people around you and a clearer understanding of the complex worlds they navigate within. Number 4. Notice when they break their own rules. Have you ever caught someone in a moment of hypocrisy where their actions don't line up with their words? It's in these moments, when someone breaks their own rules, that you see the true internal conflicts they struggle with. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, recognized this as a powerful clue to understanding a person's true priorities. When someone violates their own standards, it's a red flag, revealing where their beliefs and actions don't align, exposing the hidden tensions within them. Hypocrisy isn't always intentional. It's more like a crack in a well-built wall where the pressure of life finds its weakest point. Imagine someone who preaches the importance of honesty but then bends the truth to avoid conflict. That small slip might seem insignificant, but it's a signal that their fear of confrontation outweighs their commitment to integrity. They've just revealed the gap between what they say they value and what they truly prioritize in difficult moments. When people break their own rules, it's like watching them juggle competing desires. For instance, someone who values health but constantly indulges in unhealthy habits shows an internal struggle between short-term pleasure and long-term well-being. This contradiction is a doorway to understanding their deeper conflicts. Perhaps they're driven by comfort, fear of discipline, or unresolved emotional needs. Their actions expose the parts of themselves they haven't fully reconciled. Epictetus taught us that wisdom lies in being consistent with our values, and whenever we act against our own principles, it's an opportunity to reflect on what's truly important to us. When someone breaks their own rules, it's not just about their momentary weakness, it's about their deeper priorities. Are they choosing convenience over character, comfort over growth? It's in these slips that we can observe their true guiding principles. Look closely when someone bends their own moral code. Maybe a friend who always advocates for personal growth avoids doing the hard work themselves. Their avoidance might reveal their fear of failure or lack of confidence, or consider a colleague who demands respect but disregards others in a moment of frustration. This inconsistency is a sign of their internal struggle between pride and humility, power and empathy. The next time you observe someone breaking their own rules, don't be quick to judge. Instead, take note of the internal battle they're fighting. Their actions are a map of their inner world, a reflection of their ongoing negotiation between their ideals and their realities. By observing these moments of hypocrisy, you gain valuable insight into what really matters to them and where they still have room to grow. Epictetus reminded us that to truly understand a person, we must look beyond their actions to what those actions reveal about their inner contradictions. When someone breaks their own rules, it's a crack in the surface, offering a rare glimpse into their soul. By noticing these moments, you not only learn more about them, but also about how they might be navigating the tension between who they wish to be and who they actually are. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us. Number 5, watch their choices under pressure. When life's calm waters suddenly churn into stormy waves, people show who they truly are. Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it, like the way heat melts away impurities in gold, leaving only the purest form behind. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught us that stress is a mirror, reflecting a person's unfiltered thoughts, values, and priorities. If you want to understand someone deeply, watch their choices when the weight of the world bears down on them. Under pressure, masks slip. Imagine a person who preaches kindness but lashes out when things go wrong. Their reaction isn't just a momentary lapse, it's a glimpse into their core. Think of pressure as a litmus test. How someone responds under duress tells you what truly drives them. Are they guided by compassion and logic, or are they quick to anger and blame? It's in these tough moments that their internal compass comes into view, pointing toward their real beliefs. Let's consider a metaphor. Life under stress is like a tea bag steeped in hot water. Only when immersed in heat does its true flavor emerge. Watch how someone handles adversity. Do they rise to the occasion with grace and determination, or do they crumble, showing cracks in their foundation? A friend who remains loyal and supportive when you're struggling is someone worth cherishing. On the other hand, a person who abandons you at the first sign of difficulty reveals a self-serving nature that may have been hidden before. Pay close attention to their decisions when the stakes are high. Imagine a colleague in a tense situation at work. Do they collaborate to find solutions, or do they play the blame game? Their choice isn't just about resolving the problem, it's a map to their values. Are they fair, honest and steady under pressure, or do they sacrifice integrity for convenience? These moments tell you more about their character than years of casual interaction ever could. Epictetus believed that stress unmasks people because it forces them to act without pretense. In those moments, logic and emotion collide and their true priorities rise to the surface. A person who acts ethically even when no one is watching proves they're guided by principles, not by appearances. Their actions under pressure are like a firefly's glow in the night, a small but unmistakable light revealing who they are. To observe this in others, cultivate patience and a stoic mindset. Don't judge too quickly. Instead, watch how they navigate life's storms. Do they panic or do they pause? Do they complain or do they adapt? Their choices will tell you whether they're led by fear, pride, or resilience. Ultimately, tough times act as life's magnifying glass, zooming in on what's hidden in plain sight. If you're seeking to understand someone deeply, don't focus on their words alone. Focus on their actions when the pressure is on. It's in those moments that their true character emerges, clear and undeniable. Like Epictetus said, circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. Keep this wisdom close. and you'll learn to read people with greater clarity and insight. Number 6, notice what they avoid. Sometimes what people don't say or do speaks louder than their actions. Avoidance is like a shadow. It follows someone silently, hinting at their fears, insecurities, or unresolved struggles. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, wisely noted that what people evade often reveals the corners of their minds they wish to keep hidden. If you want to truly understand someone, don't just focus on what they face. Pay close attention to what they avoid. Avoidance is a kind of silence, and silence can be deafening. Imagine someone who consistently dodges conversations about their emotions. While they may seem composed on the surface, their reluctance could stem from a fear of vulnerability or a past experience that left them guarded. It's like a locked door in a house. What's behind it often holds the key to understanding the person who lives there. Think of avoidance as a weather vane, pointing to their internal storms. For instance, someone who avoids discussing their failures might struggle with self-doubt or a fear of judgment. Their evasion is a protective mechanism, much like a turtle retreating into its shell when it senses danger. By observing what someone sidesteps, you can uncover what truly unsettles them, whether it's fear of rejection, unresolved guilt, or unspoken pain. Let's use a metaphor. Avoidance is like a room full of mirrors where only one reflects the truth. If someone avoids taking responsibility for a mistake, they might fear being exposed as imperfect. Similarly, someone who avoids conflict may value harmony, but could also struggle with asserting themselves. Their avoidance is a compass that, when carefully read, points to their deepest vulnerabilities. Seneca believed that understanding what a person avoids helps you grasp their inner struggles. Picture a friend who never talks about their childhood. Their silence might reveal emotional scars or memories they're not ready to confront. Instead of judging or pushing, approach this knowledge with empathy. Stoic philosophy teaches us to observe without interference, allowing people the space to navigate their avoidance at their own pace. To notice avoidance, practice quiet observation. Look for patterns. Does someone consistently steer clear of certain topics, people, or decisions? Do they evade responsibilities that challenge their self-image or fears? Avoidance often leaves subtle footprints. It's not about interrogation. It's about recognizing these signs with compassion. Remember, avoidance isn't always about weakness. It's often about survival. People avoid what they're not ready to face, just as we all have blind spots we protect. Understanding what someone evades offers a rare glimpse into their unspoken battles and helps you connect with them on a deeper level. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that avoidance is not absence, it's presence in disguise. It's the whisper of fear, the echo of pain, or the quiet retreat of a soul still learning to heal. By noticing what someone avoids, you hold a key to unlocking the truth of who they are, not to judge them, but to see them clearly and offer kindness where it's most needed. If any of the points resonated with you, be sure to comment, "Thank God I learned it," to share your thoughts and let us know how it connected.